Hi everyone, it's Rich. I'm a bit stressed. I'll probably be dead soon. Um, this is how you frame someone. I'll try and explain, but I'm very confused. I've lost every member of my family, every friend. I've got every systemic institution pitted against me, including the police and ASIO and you know the area that's between real and unreal grows bigger all the time. This is because they're exploiting my apophenia or reasons for paranoia. Now, I just want to try and be as blunt as I can. In May, I suicided in a hospital. I was found with no pulse and unresponsive, and the Freedom of Information says it was a fatal injury. In my defence, I tried to bring that up with the hospital, but it's framed that I have exploited them in some way, or that's right, I have been framed as someone who exploits people for money, and this is how I did it. So not one person in the world, not one person, hello Crystal, has stood up for me in the fatality that happened at the hospital. And the people that covered it up were everyone I know, including you. And I complained to the hospital, the Health Complaints Commissioner, and the Mental Health Complaints Commissioner. Alex Tinter from the Mental Health Complaints Commissioner was actually a lawyer who was biased towards the hospital. The hospital was protected. I've been to every litigation agency, and no one has represented me, and the lawyer I do have at the moment is cooked and biased and a double agent. So I'm dead. I'm already dead on paper. No one cares. That makes me very sad. And what was I going to say next? I'm very confused because I can't think properly since the accident, and I can't feel my feet. They're serious injuries. It's suable, of course, but not one person has my back, including you. If you want to help, there's a link at the bottom. I'm squatting. I've been rejected my medication. I can't get a doctor. I've been rejected my health insurance. I've lost my job by being incarcerated. I took a break because I was sexually abused and the magistrate was cooked. Now, in hindsight, this goes back a lot further. I was framed long ago. The easy areas I'm exploited are I'm a poof. I use drugs and I'm crazy, apparently. So let's just go with that. And people have accused me of being conspiratorial. Yeah, I know, already. Anyway, years ago, I was suicidal because my dear friend Nathan Turnley had died. I was doing a PhD. I'm not stupid. I've done ethics at a PhD level. Ethics means do no harm. All these systemic agencies, one after the other, have done me harm. They have all acted in congruence to silence an innocuous, innocent recording I made, because I record weird things, of a GP, Dr. Whitaker, which is famous now. I was kind of a little bit famous in the mental health ward and speaking in Parliament and being an advocate for 2 decades helping other people. And now I need help. I haven't found one person to advocate for me. So if you feel for this situation and listen to this story about why I'm dead, then feel free to send some smackos for me, dog, or something. I don't know. I'm finding it hard to think because I can't think, and the systemic abuse is so strong. There's only so much one mind can hold, even though it's under extreme duress, and it's complicated by having these following mental illnesses that I've been labelled with over the years. One's schizophrenia, one's bipolar, one's manic depression, one's panic disorder, one's ADHD, which I need dexamphetamine for, which has been rejected. One is, the new ones from hospital are adjustment disorder and personality disorder. Hey, let's lump me with something else. So anyway, the situation is that with the Dr. Whittaker case, I recorded it innocuously, and when I moved to Susie's after my suicide attempt out of grief from Nathan, I in isolation because I've been scapegoated. And scapegoating means literally pinning your own neuroses and sins, consciously or unconsciously, on one person and one singular person in victimisation, in order to send them out into the wilderness and die, because it exonerates you, and subconsciously or consciously, it puts all your ill things into another person, and the sacrifice of that person leads you to some kind of atonement. And I know this. Anyway, what was I saying? I can't remember. What was I saying? I can't remember anything anymore. Yeah, so the Dr. Whittaker case, I recorded it, and when I found my suicide note when I lived with Susie, I decided to act, because I thought that doesn't sit ethically well with me. I protected the doctor. I didn't want anything to happen to him. I wanted a conciliation. I went to the Health Complaints Commissioner, rejected. I went to the doctor, he got a lawyer. Everyone who I've ever fought, and there are many, have always had a bank of lawyers. They're there to protect the power, privilege and money and reputations of the people who have done me wrong. I added up the money today of how much I'm worth. I got to a conservative $82 million. If I get that $82 million via litigation, which is just and fair, and I believe is correct, then I will throw the systemic government and the powers that be on its head. Now, there's people complicit in this. Not only, it's too much to speak, it's too much to even comprehend. Let's just be basic. You can't die in a hospital when you were sent there to avoid that very thing happening. I tried to get, after many years of systemic abuse and gaslighting and rejection, of evidence that clearly displays Dr. Whittaker's malpractice, that that everyone covered up. They all watched me self-destruct, and they all watched me become unwell. This is through stress and gaslighting, which is a proven methodology for torture. I'm being tortured. Now, I happened to put on my website a few things. This is back before I was hospitalised, that I'd top myself if I don't get any support. Now, rather than advocate for me, I didn't realise at this stage I had been framed. I'd been framed many years ago, publicly, and vilified by the Herald Sun and on public national television. But this particular time, I was framed and maimed by Dr. Ball, Mr. Ball, who was Dr. Whittaker's lawyer. He said to APRA that I had intentionally and by intelligent design recorded that doctor on that day in order to extort him for money. So this is absurd. I did record it. I was trying to prove to myself as an isolated person and someone who's suffers mental illness and who doesn't know sometimes what's real and what's not, trying to prove to myself I'm asking for help. All I did was ask for help. That's my crime. I'm free, but I've been heinously maimed. I've lost all my friends, my family, and every agency is pitted against me. I'm absolutely isolated and I have nothing. There's Crystal the dog. I've got a computer and I speak to 2 people, but they're paid to talk to me. That's how isolated I have become, and how Dr. Ball, Mr. Ball, has framed me as as some kind of extortionist that is deserving of this suffering. Now, when I went to hospital, I was totally fine, kicking back, having a beer at home. The systems of oppression were in play. The head of the hospital, Dr. Kumar, I saw many years ago. He didn't give me the medication, ADHD medication, dexamphetamine, which I needed to be well. So I didn't see him anymore. He knew about my former partner, Steve Isonides, look him up. And he knows that he worked for ASIO, and that he admitted to me he was present at a murder, and that he embezzled $1.2 million in an offshore tax haven with money he made from a sale of a home, that he made from the sale of cocaine, and he got off. So we were fine. Now, just in terms of that, he owes me about... He left me... I know people think he's a good bloke, but I was kept in sexual servitude and financial coercion by him, because he blackmailed me that if I came after his super or anything, which was over $1 million, and he left me homeless with his dying dog to then euthanise, and instead of thanking me for looking after him, he told me my reputation was ruined. Now, I'm guessing someone who works with ASIO and gets protected from jail and being present at murders is kind of has some pulling power. Now, when you get that combined with my public profile, which I've spoken in all TV and radio show programs and all that kind of stuff, and actually the sex that was regrettable but consensual that I explained in the book, Recovered Not Cured, got lots of praise. If I've done something wrong, I'd be in jail, but I'm not. I'm free. But I've been set up and exploited by mechanisms that already exist in society. Now, a few things. If you want to know that Steve embezzled that money, just look up his tax returns or his tax affairs. I'd like that investigated. If you want to know that the systems that oppressed me with the Dr. Whitaker case, in which I was framed as an extortionist, then all you need to do is ask me for the evidence. First of all, it was the Health Complaints Commissioner, then it was APRA, then the police covered it up, then Maribyrnong Criminal Investigations Unit, then NHB OPC covered it up. All these people silenced the recording. If the recording didn't expose something, they would have simply listened to it to exonerate the doctor of all wrongdoing. I believed it was a human rights ethical issue, and I acted with all my prior past friends who have suicided or died from abuse, and all of the victims of abuse over the years, and all the victims of suicide who never got their voice heard. I acknowledge their spirits on my side, and I speak for them as someone who's post-death and who has been a victim of the system. Moving forward, he owes me $500,000 and probably more. He continues to threaten me to this day. Now, instead of people advocating for me, I didn't know I was framed, and I got locked up by my family, who's now rejected me. So, framed by my difficulties with sexuality, with mental illness, drugs, friends dying, that kind of stuff. The fact that I've moved 24 times in 30 years. It's been a difficult road, and despite that, I've managed to become an advocate for 20 years and help other people. And I've managed to do a master's degree, and I've managed to do a PhD, and I'm now a doctor. The other reason I'm exploited is because people think I'm clever, and people don't like someone too clever, so it's time to knock him down a peg. So what we need to do is we need to silence Richard Mclean. And he has been, and I've been silenced, and I've lost everything. I don't have a cent. I've advocated my whole life for other people, and I feel very sad that I love my family, but they're gone. I feel very sad that I've lost all my friends. I feel very sad that I've become a human complaining machine. People tell me to move on, but by nature of my being incarcerated, I've lost my job. HCF were prejudiced against me, my insurer, when I went to go for income protection and have a break, because of a public profile of mental illness. They say it's prior existing, even though they accepted me on the terms and conditions of the sign-up, which they didn't come forward with in the investigation. So they owe me 75 grand. That's in addition to Steve's 500 grand or more, and him being held accountable. But anyway, look, what was I going to say next? Work cover. Work cover hasn't paid me. There's been a huge cover up there. First of all, it's been kicked in the line, but the end story is that I'm entitled to work cover, but the insurer for the NDIA and the NDIS, which was my career running for over 2 years, in which I helped other people, as I always have done. What was I going to say? They didn't pay it. Comcare are the insurers for the NDIA. They're saying I'm a contractor and not an employee, even though I've got evidence from the government's website that I'm an employer. It's gone to the Administrative Appeals Tribunal, and the mechanism for my suffering is to kick the can down the road in order that I suffer more, in order to give the greatest opportunity that I will kill myself before I get justice. I'm going to try not to do that, but people are coming close. If I die, it's not because I wanted to, it's because every person had no voice for me and no one stuck up for me. I have sustained permanent injuries from my suicide attempt, in which they denied my medication and they heinously exploited me, didn't explain my rights. I recorded the takedown with the cat taming the police. I was fine having a beer, and I published that on Facebook while I was in hospital, and the 4 in charge nurse told me to take it down or I'll go to jail and I'll have a $60,000 fine. So, and they weren't going to release me unless I did that, so I had to. That's cooked. I mean, the blunt thing is, what's cooked is you're not allowed to die in a hospital when you go there, to avoid that. So they broke me, My dog had been locked up for nearly 4 days with no one to look after it. I'm isolated as it is. And I killed myself, and the hospital notes say it was a fatal injury, with an agreed illegal contraband, which was my vape pen, which I accidentally had, and when the doctor filled me with psychotics and called me paranoid and said that my delusions were, or my conspiracy theories were delusions, I knew I wasn't crazy, and I forgave everyone, wrote a suicide note wishing them love, and then that's when I slit my artery and I bled out in the shower. Makes me sad. What makes me sadder is not one person in the world has a perspective on writing a letter of complaint, or that in fact, because of that suicide, it was a result of systemic abuse, neglect, gaslighting and blacklisting from systemic government organisations that were underpinned by my former partner's contacts and Dr. Whitaker's lawyer, who framed me as some kind of dog extortionist. I wonder, of the people that have rejected me, one by one, they've all left. I know I've become a complaint mechanism, but I don't extort people for money. In actual fact, after Steve left me, his landlord gave me, our old landlord gave me $100,000. It's pretty good. I told Dad and a few people. They said, "Oh, that doesn't seem right," and they asked for it back because I didn't know. He changed his mind and said that he was an ice addict, and the voices told him to give me the money because he was grateful for my advocacy work. So I gave it back. I didn't have anything. Now, all that's provable. Everything I say is provable. I've got a ever expanding evidence-based thing that explains all this, and it covers up my death. It resulted in my death as a systemic conspiracy to murder. That's what it was. Today I tried to report that to the police. I have been blocked from the Federal Police's servers. I've been investigated from my perspective on the police by IBAC, the Independent Broad-Based Anti-Corruption Commission, and they have covered it up. I've got a investigation in front of them now, and they are planning to look into the systemic organisations that have covered up a death, which was the result of systemic oppression that ended in my murder. I don't kill myself for fun. If I killed... the Office of the Chief Psychiatrist told me on the phone, and she oversees all the psychiatrists, you can't just threaten to kill yourself every time you don't get what you want. Yeah, because I do that often, and I plan my death in order just to survive, to extort money from people later. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? So, but that's how I've been framed, and that's why you all haven't acted. Now, there's some serious issues going on here. They're systemic. They include national figures, including the Federal Health Minister, Greg Hunt, who I begged him to listen to the recording because it had been covered up, and he sent me to the Health Complaints Commissioner. After hospital, I begged Katie Hall, the Labor MP, to listen to me. Nothing. I begged Mark Dreyfus, the MP, to help me. Nothing. And he's actually advocating himself for the moment for an anti-corruption commission, which I think is hilarious. Here's his chance to, make a good point. What was I going to say? I'm trying to be succinct. So malpractice, there's been a lot of that happening with the treatment that I've got. But now, on the opposite side of the coin, I've been absolutely blacklisted and banned from AHPRA of calling them or contacting them. That's the same for the Mental Health Complaints Commissioner, who covered up the complaint to the hospital. And additionally, on another topic, I've been banned from Australian Financial Complaints Authority. I have over $1 million in unfair super insurance, all that kind of stuff, cases, and they have blackmailed me that if I even contact them, I will have all my cases dropped. What I didn't know was they've dropped them all anyway. No justice for Rich. The method they're keeping me down and trying to kill me is to run me into the ground by elongating my suffering, in that I don't get any monetary or prosperity, and that I don't have any rights, and that I can't get medical help. and that I can't trust a friend, or I can't ask a family member, or I can't go to a public agency. In actual fact, I've been desecrated in all areas. Now, I talked about this to Mike121, who was the old White Dog Green Frog, who hosted my website for 20 years, and from 1998, I think it was, RichieMclean.com it was. I have evidence that my passwords were changed, that my email is hacked, and also I brought that up, and I've got recordings that I'd had a late payment while I was in hospital. They knew I was there, survived suicide, had court cases, that kind of stuff, even though I've never had a lawyer. And without warning, to further desecrate me, my business, richmclean.com.au, is also my ABN. That email, rich@richmclean.com.au, covers my MyGov account, Centrelink, all banks, all things I can log into. It is my pay ID, so many things. If you think it had images of lovers and friends and people who have died, I'll never get back. What they've done is they intentionally, without warning, went out of their way to delete all of my emails from 20 years, which included all my evidence that was going to explain all this, and was going to, and they intentionally had to go out of their way to delete all backups, all data, and of course this was coming from the top. Rich is getting close. He's going to blow this out of the water, and we need to get this data before he comes forward with it. So I had no agency to appeal. I've been to the Small Business Ombudsman, who is concerned for my welfare. Everyone's concerned for my welfare, and tell me to go call Beyond Blue or Lifeline or something. However, I don't need Lifeline. I'm not going to kill myself. I need a lawyer, and I need a friend, and I need someone on my side. I need someone who's going to say to me, wow, Rich, this whole thing you've been through is more than one person should suffer, especially framed by your advocacy of over 20 years. It's like a nightmare, like I'm living in hell. But anyway, let's just look at it another way. So I forgot what I was saying. All my data's gone. My computer has been hacked. I've been trying to back it up. People, they're exploiting the paranoia that I have by sending people to send messages, stalk me. The list goes on. I'm hacked. Look, I called the police today to report all this. There's a lot to say. And while I was on the phone, 2 Crime Stoppers, even though I called 000, because they're going to kill me. Desecration's not enough. My death isn't enough. Everyone is complicit in not complaining about that suicide that was murder. And I am cooked, well and truly, from the top, from Greg Hunt to all the MPs, to national insurance, to agencies, to Federation, to my family and friends have been infiltrated. I love my family, but my sister said, you're a druggo and a schizo and get the fuck out of our lives. I begged Dad to reject me, and he sent me a ticket of how to get some potatoes from the, what was I going to say? The Salvation Army. Mum, well, she's clearly insane. My Uncle Bruce refused to give me money. Everyone had been worded up, don't give Rich money because he'll use it on drugs and gambling. Everyone in my extended family has $1 million house at least, and every one of them has refused to give me 1 cent. This is why friends are better than family. I call that my biological family. And the person that worded them up was my sister, of course, and the person that worded them up was a deceptive friend who called her knowing she was my last chance at getting my life together, and she exaggerated my drug use, and my dad told me to go to rehab. I don't think Dad knows how much he goes to rehab, but anyway. So I'm cooked in every way. I'm sitting here by myself today. I'm just telling you this story because I believe I'll be dead soon, and I want you to know that I didn't do it because I'm mentally ill. I didn't do it because I'm on drugs. I didn't do it to extort anyone, and I didn't do it because I was sad. It has occurred because of systemic and heinous, malicious, conscious persecution that is national, local, in the medical fields, in the lawyer fields, in the health fields. It's socially, even my coffee guy doesn't talk to me anymore. My family have been turned against me, and every one of my Facebook friends probably wonder where I am. There's a few people who have tried to help, and I thank those people for lending me some money. I did get some money from a justice issue. It's all gone. I had to pay them back. So here we are. I'm sitting here in a house that is a shell of what I could have potentially had. I've worked my whole life to the bone. I've done my best to get justice, and I am apparently free. They can't jail me, but they will, because I'm being set up. Not only have I been described and set up as a sex offender, but I've been tagged and set up with like pedophilia stuff on when I watch Pornhub and stuff like that. I've been set up on the local Grinder grid. People send me messages, even on the local Wi-Fi. There's a Wi-Fi address called Secret Hospital Records. Now, if they were secret hospital records from the hospital at the end of the street, they wouldn't be called secret hospital records. What they're talking about and rubbing in my face is that even all those agencies that covered up the fatality that was a murder in hospital, that none of you have defended me for, that I went to an ombudsman, and the ombudsman said there's nothing to see here. He looked at it all in detail. That's how cooked it is from the top down. I'm a human being with sentience. Even if I killed and raped 10 babies, which I haven't, black humour, sorry. I have sentience and I deserve a life. I've been framed, obviously, heinously, and that ombudsman found nothing wrong with an agreed illegal contraband or the abandonment of the ethics or the care or the duty of care, or that an agreed illegal contraband was used to kill myself, or that that it's a rejection of the Human Rights Charter, and that's from the top. That's from the top. Oh, what was I going to say? I forget. Not one person has my back, and every time I put something out there asking for help, somehow it gets subjugated or subverted and used against me. I'm obviously framed. I invite you to look at my history back with helping people and how much I've given to society. I believe if I am killed that I will be murdered, and I believe that I will not get justice with HCF, my insurer. I will not get justice with Comcare, my workplace insurer, because they... Paul Fowler is the guy who rejected me. WorkSafe would not advocate for me in my appeal, and guess who used to run WorkSafe? Paul Fowler. The entire system's cooked. Paul Fowler's got blood on his hands, and and because it could be a TPD, because in actual fact, in the, I don't know, it's been 10 months or something since I was released from hospital, and there's a duty of care to release someone from hospital, that they have the care they need. I was released squatting with no money, no food, no car. At least I got to see my dog, which is the reason I live, for none of you. And for the fading thing of faith that someone will stick up for me one day. Anyway, they released me under hugely erroneous conditions that weren't in step with the hospital procedures, and they released me to Saltwater Clinic, which was the mental health clinic that oversaw all the mental health patients, the people with disabilities like me. And I recorded everyone because I was rationally paranoid. I was being set up to fail, and I was. And in a nutshell, I saw a psychiatrist twice in 8 months. That's more than a bad public mental health system, because they knew I was using drugs, because when you kill yourself, you have a different impression of life. When everyone abandons you, you feel a bit reckless. I was using drugs and they knew it. They were hoping that I would become unwell enough that I would top myself before justice. Now, medical malpractice has happened there. I only saw them twice. Once was abysmal, and the second time was for them to officially invite me in to exonerate me from the system. I have recorded many calls of me trying to call the CAT team, and I've got endless supply of evidence, literally thousands of emails begging people in my destitution that they're killing me and I need help. And that's all I've ever done, is ask for help. I'm asking for your help. I'm asking at least, if you can't help me, please do not hurt me. If you can't help me in any way, I'd appreciate if you share this message, because I have sentience. I'm not a rapist. I'm not a pedophile. I've never killed anyone apart from myself. And I have been stitched up, framed, cooked, desecrated, and maimed financially and personally, professionally, within my family, in every possible way, by already existing structures in society of exploitation, of prejudice, discrimination, abuse, neglect, gaslighting, blacklisting. This has been going on for many years. I'm a victim of the system. I'm also a doctor. My university and lecturers have now abandoned me. I haven't got one confidant in the world. I've probably saved thousands of lives. I've spoken to tens of thousands of people, probably hundreds of thousands of people. I've gone to the media. Jack Heath of SANE, CEO, he told me to move on. Gordon Parker, head of Black Dog Institute, he told me to go see my GP. Irony. Greg Hunt told me to see HCC. Everyone's got a veneer of someone to represent them, to kick the ball and the can down the road in order to extend my suffering, with the hope and foaming at the arse that I'm going to kill myself before I get justice. Now, if and when I do, if I do, the consequences of that are going to be heinous. Not only is people of public standing going to be held accountable, but everyone who didn't oppose my death by conspiracy in hospital is going to have to examine why they were prejudiced on thinking I'm some evil extortionist. Anyway, I'm tired. I've got to feed my dog. I don't know if I should ask for money. I mean, I haven't got a cent. Maybe I'll put a if you want to pay ID me. Actually, I set up. I'm trying to get acknowledgement for my case. Just an acknowledgement that I'm a human being. Included in the people that rejected me were, of course, Centrelink. Apparently, being on a pension for so many years and then killing yourself and having all these things wrong with you isn't enough for a DSP. They put me on job seeker and expected me to work. This is when I was on break from work from my own sexual abuse case, which was covered up by a magistrate because the system's cooked, and the VOCAT case because it took me 3 long years to get that sexual abuse case in front of a magistrate, and the lawyer gave me no outcome because, again, the systems that be were expecting me to kill myself from stress, and there is plenty of evidence that was maimed by my email provider that I was suicidal. So, basic thing with that sexual abuse VOCAT case is that the lawyer didn't give me an outcome. They left it go for so long that there was no grounds for appeal. The magistrate, confident that she had, hey Crystal, that had cooked the entire thing and set it up because I'm an evil extortionist or for whatever reason. I don't even know how it works yet. But she told me I was doomed to fail. Now, that's fairly colourful language for a sexual abuse survivor. Sadly, after that, at some point he passed, at some point being 3 days after I topped myself, and the first suicide mentioned the sexual abuse, and lo and behold, the family honoured the life of that person at his funeral. So that's the kind of gaslighting and ethical dilemmas that are facing me and cast on me, and that hey Crystal, hey, what have you got? What have you got? Come here. Oh, what's she got? I gotta go get it. Anyway, it's Rich. I'm signing off. I'm confused. I can't think. I've got permanent injuries. I'm not supposed to die. I don't want to die. I won't die. They're going to kill me, and I've explained as the best I can with the brain that I've got, with the stress that I've been through for decades, including the Herald Sun writing a story saying my descent into madness, how schizophrenia stole Richard Mclean's brain, despite doing a PhD, of course, and running your own business for 2 years and a master's degree, and being an art teacher and all the other amazing worldly experiences I've had. Of course I'm insane. It's easy to exploit me as that. It's easy to exploit the drug use. It's easy to exploit that I'm gay, to inhabit already existing prejudices that maim me, frame me, desecrate me. I've been desecrated. My reputation is ruined. I'm a good person. I know in my heart I'm a good person. I have done nothing wrong. I apologise for all of the times I complained to my friends. I forgive all the doctors for their negligence. I forgive everyone. Forgiveness is the key. However, there is still a pressing and urgent issue that they are sustaining my suffering by rejecting my prosperity and my reputation. Well, that's already gone. In order that I die by my own hand, and if that doesn't happen, they will, as a narcissist does, isolate me so much that someone will. I've been threatened by that already, and I owe money to people. They will get me. And I want you to know that every single person that didn't stick up for me is complicit in a tiny way, throwing one stone in the public, private, systemic and government oppression and murder of me. I've already been murdered. No one stood up for me. It's hard to get this in my head. You can donate at the bottom if you want. I summed up all the money that's owed to me. $82 million. Pretty fucking good. I don't do this for money. I do it for ethics, and I do it for morals, and I do it for standing my ground. If that ends in my death, I've died for a cause, and I've already died for that cause. I'm not afraid to die. You cannot take my soul. And I know I'm a good person. I please ask people to take a moment to consider one very public person's suffering and gaslighting, blacklisting, framing, maiming, and I predict I will be hospitalised. That the police came to the door today again for a welfare check when I was on the phone reporting these crimes. They are twisting it round to make me out to be a madman. I have been systemically and across the board exploited from the coffee man to the ombudsman. I'm already dead. And if I'm dead and you're reading this, I've given plenty notice and I've screamed plenty of times very loudly for help. I've battled this on my own, alone, for too long, and I ask for your support. Lord have mercy on my soul if I go, but I forgive everyone. It's hard to take responsibility for just flicking off, in your capacity or framed by what you do, the one stone of thousands and thousands that kill a person. But it's like a blameless crime, but there are many persons of interest and laws that are unequivocally broken here. Currency of kindness is good. I haven't been treated kind. I've been set up. I found this out because only recently I read the APRA Freedom of Information reports, and Dr. Ball's psychiatrist, not psychologist. I haven't got a psychologist or a psychiatrist. You'd think with all these things wrong, I'd be able to fucking have a doctor at least, but I don't. And I was bleeding from the arse and sent that to all my friends. Might have cancer. My dad did. My grandpa did. My great-grandpa did. Bleeding from the arse is apparently nothing to worry about. They're hoping I'll die before justice because, well, they're all part of it. But anyway, I'll move on. What I was going to say, I forget. I forget everything. I can't feel my feet. I'm already dead. Don't let me die. I didn't kill myself. If I'm dead, that's what I was going to say. It's hard to accept responsibility when you're just one person who's given me the flick. But if I'm universally given the flick with little agency to care for myself, get a job, get help, get medical care, get insurance, make a complaint, stand up for my rights, that's what'll kill me. And that's what's happening. Thanks.